Here's my most recent additions to my romance novel collection, and I bought these from an online seller, all of these books, for pretty cheap actually. And these are Carolyn Courtney books, Regency novels published by Warner Books from like 1979 to I believe 1982. And you see they're all numbered on the sides there. I'm missing book number 3, and I'm missing book number 19. I think number 21 was the last book. And from the same seller, I got all these. Frances Parkinson KEYES is how her name is pronounced. And I think she lived from around 1885 to 1970. So she's sort of a pre-romance writer. In fact, I don't even think you could consider technically a romance writer. Probably today she would be considered women's fiction. But she was marketed as a romance writer in later years, as you'll see here in a minute. Let me just show you some of these books here. Now, this is the first of the Carolyn Courtney books. Carolyn Courtney was a pen name for Penny Jordan, and in a previous video I talked about that. I actually had 4 of her books already, but these ones were actually better condition than the ones I had. And they had this fake, oh, I don't know if it's in this one, but they had this fake biography for her, saying that she was a older woman who England's new mistress of Regency romance, sort of as if she was like Barbara Cartland, whose work was just now being published at the urging of her children. But it turned out she was actually a younger woman. These were her first novels, Penny Jordan, who has since passed away. So here's 2 more. I'm going to get these all out of order, but I can always put them back together later. And there's number 6 and 7. And they all have the same cover art, but I've not read any of these yet, so hopefully I like them. But they just by the covers, I kind of know I do. It was January 1980, Walter Pett. And we'll see if I can show one of the fake biographies. They were also, Warner Books was also publishing Your Warner Library of Regency Romance category romance at that time. And there's the about the author, but again, this is totally fake apparently. This was, made it seem like she was an older writer than she was. And we'll just go through these. Here's some more. Now, I know I've seen Libertine in Love in a different edition that wasn't part of the series, so I believe later they reprinted at least this one outside of the numbered series of Carolyn Courtney. There's some more. But I look forward to reading them. I wasn't that crazy about the Penny Jordan book that I read. I've only read one of her books. It was a Harlequin Presents from, I believe, 1999. So these were 20 years earlier than that. And I'm hoping they'll be less... the thing I didn't like about her writing was that it seemed kind of convoluted sentences and things like that in the descriptions. I'm hoping these will have more of a focus. Traditional Regencies, more of a focus on witty banter and things like that. And those are the last ones. Now, like I said, I think number 21 was the last book. Although apparently she wrote at least maybe 4 other books. Now, Frances Parkinson KEYES, like I said, was a sort of pre-romance writer. She was pre the romance genre. In fact, technically she's not even a romance writer. I've not read any of her work yet. These were published by Avon Books. You can that lovely red edge, which Harlequin and Pocket Books also had at that time, but Avon did as well. But you can tell that they're marketed. These These books were published in 1969, 1970, 1971, but they are originally came out in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. So, around the same time that someone like Kathleen Norris or Faith Baldwin, a lot of their books were, presented as romance novels. You can see from the covers, these all sort of have the traditional, almost the clinch cover, the couple embracing. So the covers themselves are sort of signifying to the to the reader, that these are romance novels, even though if technically, they may not hold to the rules of the road when it comes to what modern readers would expect. The happy ending, for example. This Dinner at Antoine's is probably her most famous book, I would think. But as you can see, they all have the same sort of logo of her name, sort of using the writer as a brand, because she had this whole big backlist of bestsellers from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So by the time of the 70s, you can reprint her whole, bibliography as sort of almost as a line, as a category line. There's some more. Some of these are pretty thick. I think that this one might be like 700 pages. Great back covers too. 712 pages. She also had, I noticed when I was flipping through some of these, she would have like these great introductions too. Like there's an author's note at the end of this, and it talks about her research and stuff. So this is the author's note, and runs several pages, like 5 pages. But I think a lot of her books have those big authors' introductions. Though there's some thick books. I look forward to checking out some of her stuff. Like I said, it may not technically be romance, but it's sort of a precursor to that. Now, at the same time, I got those yesterday. This torn copy was actually in my local library's free box. So I was like, hey, Frances Parkinson KEYES. There's one published by Fawcett in the 1970s, it looks like. But anyways, there's some of the writing from people who have read them in the past. And some more that were published by Fawcett. And again, you have an author's note. 1968 is when this one was, so this must have been one of her last books. And it's a historical. Now, it has like sort of a formalized, old-fashioned type of writing, but to me that's a bit of a plus, because I like that sort of thing. But let me show you something else here real quick. When I was looking online to see if Frances Parkinson KEYES would be considered a romance writer, I ran across this comment in this one Teach Me Tonight blog by Virginia DeMarce, and I found it really interesting because it's sort of a list of people who could be considered sort of precursors to romance from 1891, and it goes. The list ends up going all the way to 1980. But it's a list of like going through the bestsellers of those early years and noting any books that could be considered romance, or sort of a precursor to romance. I'll try to zoom in a little better there. So these are some obscure books, but similar to how, say, science fiction fans will look back to, say, Mary Shelley or H.G. Wells or Jules Verne. Even though science fiction, the phrase wasn't coined until late 20s, early 30s. So, anyways, this post lasts like a long time. Frances Parkinson KEYES doesn't even come into the picture till 1930. So there's a lot here, most of which is not even, discussed really. There's Frances Parkinson KEYES. Her novels contained romantic relationships, but many did not have the happy ever after of the romance genre novel. And Denise Robbins, who was definitely a romance writer, and so on. There's a thing about Mills and Boone. Anyway, that's a fascinating comment. I wonder maybe if I should copy and paste that to my blog or something, because it's so sad that it's buried in the comments section of this blog, and hardly anyone replied to it. It goes on and on and on all the way. You know, sort of like writers who are outside of what we consider normal, romance writers of America approved definition of romance. And so that was from 2008, and only got a couple replies, and that was it from Virginia. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. Thanks for watching.